A lot of unexpected things for today's video, and it starts with a location that one might decidedly call low-key for a restaurant concept that feels kind of special. At first glance, the building looks more like it would house an office rather than an incubator of sorts. But outer aesthetics aside, something deep inside is brewing. Or let's just say it, fermenting. This restaurant is called Now Now and it's dubbed as a contemporary canteen and fermentation lab. Once you get inside, the visuals do confirm what a contemporary canteen and fermentation lab is. You can immediately see the open kitchen where such experiments occur, and while we had initially reserved a table, we actually ended up sitting at the bar, which made for a fun experience by being able to watch the preparations unfold. Now, for some background info, while you're looking at their fermentation station, the intentional fermentation of food is an ancient practice, and all countries have their own time-tested recipes that were historically done to either digest food more efficiently, preserve food, or preserve specific nutrients within food. But I will admit that this is the first time I've been to a restaurant with an entire menu that highlights fermented components and that even includes some of their drinks. We went in for brunch, and there are some differences in the brunch and dinner menus. Brunch is only available on Saturdays and Sundays. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, which I believe is when they produce the ice cream for their sister brand Kurimu. And the rest of their service times are for dinner. Reservations are required as the dining space is limited, and you can do so via their website, which I'll link in the description box. And since we're talking about fermented foods, I would advise pregnant diners to consult their doctors first if it would be safe to consume these types of dishes. At the time we made our reservation, we weren't aware that the day we selected coincided with the launch of their new menu. So if you've been to Now Now before the new menu came out in February 2025, let us know in the comment section what differences you've spotted. Now let's get started with the drinks. The kombucha berry comes across as similar to a fermented grape juice that isn't as full-bodied as wine. It has that kombucha sourness, and the berry appears in the form of a rosy lychee berry aroma and aftertaste, and this isn't a sweet drink. According to M, the jasmine yuzu iced tea has a refreshing citrusy flavor that's less sour than a lemon iced tea, and the jasmine didn't overpower the drink. The Tortang talong okonomiyaki is a play on textures where the softness of the eggplant is contrasted with the crispy components such as noodles and nori. A smoky, slight bitterness comes from the Tortang talong and a layer of bacon, and according to M, who has been to Now Now previously, he noticed that this new version seems to have more toppings than before. The fermented hot sauce is a spicy sour that isn't the peppery kind, and the heat isn't too strong, just enough for a kick without a long linger. The Turkish eggs are like a reverse shakshuka. The Polish flatbread triangles taste like sourdough, and the primary sauce is the smooth and creamy labne, which is a yogurt-based cheese. The eggs are poached nicely with a creamy, liquidy center. So where a shakshuka has a tomato sauce base, Turkish eggs take its tanginess from the labne, and there's plenty of that to go around for dipping here. The arancini is like a deconstructed truffle risotto in croquette form. Despite the name, the burnt onion sauce has light caramelized sweetness instead of any strong bitterness that harmonizes with the toasted, also caramelized taste of the breading. The flavor of the breading cuts through the richness of the cream cheese filling, in addition to the crust's textural contribution to the dish. I guess what I'm saying is, risotto over the sauce is fairly standard, but the crispy breading does a lot to elevate the flavors into something more remarkable. And while it might be a small detail, the chefs at Now Now certainly took notice. The steak and eggs features a hanger steak with the same burnt onion foam sauce as the arancini, but with dehydrated fermented onion powder seasoned shoestring potatoes and the inclusion of kimchi as a side. Previously, cherry tomatoes were served as the side dish. They do ask your preferred doneness, and we went with medium. The beef is soft and tender, taking almost no effort to chew, and the overall impression this dish gives is the East meets West flavors, where the bright, wake me up kick of the kimchi and pink peppercorns set an altogether different tone than the earthy flavors of the arancini despite having the same sauce. The egg has a soft yolk but not so liquid. The kimchi is still crisp and isn't too heavy on the heat, instead highlighting its fermented sour flavor with just a little bit of sweetness. My takeaway from having dined here is how the fermented components aren't always in your face flavors, even though fermented foods are known to have very distinct smells and flavors. Nana was able to play around with those intensities, so diners are in for a pleasant surprise. Please subscribe for more content like this.